So I've been meaning to post a little while on going to therapy the day after you feel you're in a crisis. So you book the appointment because on that particular day it's very hard to get an appointment with a therapist, and it's maybe for the next day or even the next week, and you sit down and make this list of everything you need to discuss and everything that's getting to you, and you wake up the next morning and you're feeling okay and you think you don't need the appointment. So I've got a therapist myself that I see a couple of times a year, and the same happens to me. I have this whole list of things to discuss, and when I get there I realize that it's not so much about everything I was worried about the day before, but that therapy is in the moment, and it's about what happens within the relationship with the therapist. It's all about transference, counter-transference, and maybe those things that were bothering me late into the night last night, it was actually a good thing that I had the night to think about them or to write down that list, because it helps us maybe come to a solution ourselves about some of the easier stuff. And it's Oprah who often talks about that aha moment. So we walk out of therapy and we think, I have to remember everything that Mandy said. I have to remember all the detail and all the tips I got. But it's actually about what stays relevant after you've left the therapy room. And so I'll often say to patients, when you're feeling at your most devastated, book the appointment and rather just come, because what remains of that devastation will be addressed and will come up during our session together. You've also got to be cautious when you leave and say, well, Mandy said this and this about you. Well, it's not. We're trained to be objective, and yes, when you're sitting in front of us, we do give advice because we're trying to help you, but we're giving advice based on what you tell us, not necessarily against your husband or your family or your kids or your colleagues at work. So it's not just Mandy said X, Y, and Z about you. It is, given the facts that I gave Mandy, this was her opinion.